So, all right. What about water availability? Was water availability? I understand that was like not an issue in Malibu. Is that correct?
Was it water?
Well, yeah.
So there was water. We have several reservoirs that encinos that we use a lot. Now, just an example, if we have one building burning,
Mhm.
we could flow 1,000 gallons a minute on that one building with the hose lays that we put in
Yeah.
to stop it. You can imagine 1,000 gallons per house, we couldn't do, right? So the amount
Yeah.
of water we're flowing, there really is no water system that's going to keep that pace. So we have to bring in water tenders, which are these big tank water tanks that, 2,500, 3,000 gallon
Yeah.
trucks, and they'll come in. And that's what we have to do to compensate. So they park out there, do it. DWP did a great job. They brought in big water
Okay.
trucks for us,
All right.
and we use them as basically mobile hydrants,
All right.
right? And then we have our own agency as well that has water tenders.
Okay. My understanding is that like along the correct me if I'm wrong, in Malibu along the coast there was no shortage of water. In the Palisades there was a shortage of water at a certain point. Or is that not accurate?
Well, we were
Yeah.
flowing just an amount of water that the system couldn't bear. That we're just
Okay.
overbearing, just because of how much water these firefighters were utilizing.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. Thanks, guys.
That was Elon Musk perpetuating this right-wing talking point that there was no water available during the LA wildfires, prompting that video to be posted on Elon's own platform by Governor Gavin Newsom. Now, first of all, this is not what our elected officials should have to deal with during the worst wildfire to ever hit the city of Los Angeles, debunking lies from a self-important oligarch who amplifies disinformation and those who spread it on a constant basis. Sorry, everybody, gotta take a break from fighting this fire because an oligarch wants to learn about how fires work. Now, the reason that Elon believes that there was no water in the Pacific Palisades is because he remade Twitter to showcase right-wing grifters who make shit up. Elon loves to pretend that Twitter is some bastion of real news. It's not. It is a cesspool that has almost single-handedly destroyed the media literacy of a good portion of this country. Since the advent of the internet, I cannot remember a time when Americans were worse informed than they are right now. Elon is uniquely responsible for that. So if Musk is looking for the reason that his own opinions are so skewed on this matter, if he's looking for the person responsible, perhaps he should consult a mirror. And I'm sorry, but isn't this guy an engineer? Doesn't he have some modicum of understanding of logistics and water pressure and the scope of this fire? And yet he can't understand how when 15,000 acres are ablaze and the hydrants are running full bore for hours and hours and hours relentlessly, that the pressure in those hydrants might be diminished? I mean, dear God, if this is the guy who owns a car company, this isn't exactly a ringing endorsement for Tesla. Now, so as not to waste any time while I have your attention, I'm going to do something virtually unheard of in right-wing circles and direct your attention to someone who actually knows what the fuck he's talking about. Here's the California Fire Marshal, Daniel Berlant, during an interview that we did just a few days ago, where, yet again, we had to take time during a disaster to debunk disinformation emanating not just from the usual grifters and purveyors of disinformation, but the people at the literal top of the Republican Party, including Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Mike Johnson. Okay, so let's pivot to a different section here because there have been a lot of rumors and misinformation floating around, so I'm hoping you can address some of this. Right off the bat, Donald Trump suggested onto Truth Social that Gavin Newsom should have opened some sort of spigot from Northern California to Southern California to allow water to flow. Can you speak on the legitimacy of that claim?
You know, I don't want to get into the politics of the president or the future president, but it is so important to note that every community has a different water system. In Pacific Palisades, their water system is really based on storage tanks and reservoirs. And with the extreme amount of homes that caught on fire in the early hours, every hydrant was running and water was being used faster than water could be replenished. But there is no spigot from Northern California to Pacific Palisades that could have kept up with this firefight. Lots of people saying, well, why aren't you using water right out of the ocean? And again, it's just not that simple. But firefighters, we use other tactics. It's not just water that help us battle these fires. We're using mechanical equipment like bulldozers, chainsaws, and other efforts. But the governor leaned in and he had us push forward well over 100 water tender trucks that brought in water to that area. So not only did the water supply able to work as the best as it could to keep up with the need, but we also brought water in from other areas. Our helicopters, once we could fly aircraft, could pick up water from neighboring reservoirs or even swimming pools and drop water on it. But again, let's come back to the magnitude of these fires. Again, it's not just one home on fire. It's not just two homes. It's thousands of homes on fire at the same time. There really is no water supply that's going to be able to keep up with that. And that is, again, where we go into rescue mode first, structure defense second.
What about the notion that prior to the fires even erupting, that there was no water in the reserves?
You know, I can't speak for the water department in Los Angeles. What I can tell you, though, is our firefighters on the ground that night had water.
Okay.
Again, when every fire hydrant is flowing, the pressure is going to go down. It's such a taxing piece. Obviously, that's going to be a discussion for us afterwards. Back to, what can we do to ensure that some of these older neighborhoods that maybe don't have the same municipal water supply and flow, that adequate water is available. In many communities, we've granted out money to help with water tanks and other auxiliary water supplies. In fact, we have requirements in our building code for homes in more wildland areas to ensure they have water supply on site, whether it be a pond or in a water tank. And so I think those are going to all be things that after the emergency, we continue to work through. But to have politics come into play, to question, why water wasn't flowing from north to south, that wasn't going to make a difference in these extreme weather conditions.
Speaker Mike Johnson had come out and issued a claim on Twitter that the forests weren't managed effectively. Can you speak on that claim?
Man, we have done so much here in California in getting our forests into a healthy state. We have really, the governor and the legislature put in billions of dollars into wildfire resiliency projects, fuel training, fuels management work in and around communities and in the forest land areas. In fact, we set a goal to be able to treat 1 million acres each year by 2025. And we were able to do that several years ago. We have continued to increase our pace and scale, whether it be prescribed fire or mechanical treatment. So we are taking care of our forest. It's really important to note, though, that almost 50% of California is federally owned land, whether it be national forests or national park land or other lands managed by the federal government. But our federal partners here in California, they too have been doing their part. They really have helped us with that goal of treating, for them, about 500,000 acres, 500,000 acres of land in their jurisdiction. So federal, state, here in California, we are doing a lot, but our climate is changing faster than we're able to mechanically go in. Now, we will continue to increase the usage of prescribed fire, cultural burning, and other types of vegetation management. But really, the numbers show, and it's all available on our website. We provide access to the public to see exactly where these fuel reduction projects are going. The numbers show that California is really leading the effort towards fuels reduction.
So look, I've worked in politics long enough to recognize why Republicans like Trump and Elon are falling over themselves to exploit this tragedy for their own partisan benefit. Donald Trump eats, sleeps, and breathes his disdain not just for Democratic politicians, but any American who fails to display slavish devotion to him. And Elon literally purchased Twitter.com for the express purpose of turning it into a right-wing cesspool and to amplify right-wing creators, which is exactly what he's done. But the reality is that their breathless insistence on spreading disinformation isn't just political. It is taking resources away from the people who need it. It is diverting attention away from the people who need it. Just days ago, Elon elevated a tweet suggesting that looting was decriminalized in California, which prompted Governor Newsom to have to respond on Twitter and explain that when you claim looting is legal, people are going to loot. I'm sorry, but Elon Musk and Donald Trump aren't fucking children. They are grown-ass men who should know better. And the fact that they're using this time, during, again, the worst fire that the city of Los Angeles has ever contended with, to fart out lie after lie after lie online to score some cheap political points shows you that there is no bottom to the depravity. They might be trying to expose the Democrats, but in reality, all they're doing is exposing themselves. Before you go, just a quick note, if you'd like to see more of my content, which is always free of advertising, sponsorships, and paywalls, please make sure to subscribe to this channel using the subscribe button right here on the screen. And if you'd like to support my work even further, you can grab a copy of my instant #1 New York Times selling book, Shameless, available for sale right now. That link is also on the screen. Thanks so much for watching.